Will the meeting please come to order? I have approximately 10:09 a.m.
Mr. Chairman, can you do a roll call of members?
Yes. Here with us today is Chair Alfonso, Member Kangas, Town Administrator,
Please follow up by saying here. Member
Here.
Chair Alfonso,
Here.
Member Kangas.
Here.
Thank you.
Town Administrator,
Yeah.
Brittany, Lady
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
and Clerk Patricia Lowe, which is obviously here.
Why don't we get an update, according to our guidelines here, why don't we get an update from
Brittany.
Bowling Alley Media when they can possibly provide us with information.
Update.
Life. How's everything going?
We continue to cover as many meetings as possible, covering the normal town events and things that are taking place, and also documenting sort of the purchase and renovations and things of the new building. And we've been working on some proposals for setting up recording in a meeting room here in this building, similar to how we have it at Slade. So, been getting quotes from vendors and things to possibly, set that up here.
You'll never believe what the other paper is. Man. All right. Mr. Chairman, can I ask for the next item, this is my first go as a town administrator at a cable contract. The cable contract's up in FY '26, if not calendar year '26. What have we done in the past? What are we supposed to do now? I don't really know. You've been on cable advisory commissions before.
Would you like to speak first, Mr. Kangas?
Well, we do several events in a year, the field days.
No, not what do we do. Like, the cable is fine. We need to, where the contract's done. So the town and Spectrum need to enter into new contracts, and I just don't really know what we're supposed to do from there. It involves some sort of, it 100% involves you guys, and I know that. Do you know what the process here is? I just feel like
Yes.
I'm missing something.
Yeah, so typically the town will hire an attorney to handle the major heavy lifting. The town is responsible, the cable committee is responsible for holding a public hearing where they get feedback from the public as far as Spectrum's cable services. And when I say cable, I mean television, not internet. Specifically, getting the town's feedback on services from Spectrum, and typically also feedback from residents as far as how cable access has benefited them and the town. So basically making the case for why public access is important in Hubbardston, and then also just general feedback from the townspeople as far as like how satisfied they are with the services, cable TV services from Spectrum.
Overall, I'm hearing that internet's slow, it's not as reliable as it should be.
Right, yeah, this would just be cable television, not internet. So this contract is just relative to cable TV.
Well,
Side note, we are doing that MBI project that I will have another meeting on. Al is involved in it in the coming weeks. They tried to get individuals from town to meet with them and be interviewed on their experiences, but no one wanted to be interviewed. So,
Are those the people that came from Boston?
Yeah.
Yes.
One day, I
Yes.
spoke with them with Chris.
yeah.
Yes.
At night, in the evening. My recollection of what took place for the initial contract when I was a member of this board, I'm referring to that as the initial contract. That was around 2011 to 2013, 2014. We undertook sending out a questionnaire to the town people. So we had a questionnaire formulated, and we put all the things we had thought about. We were 3 members at the time. Oh, 4 members. I apologize to Mr. Nason. We had 4 members at the time. We formulated a questionnaire that got mailed out to all the residents in the town, asking their opinion of what they thought were the strengths and weaknesses of the cable system here within this town. Okay, we got their feedback back. Okay, we met with an attorney from Charter.
Yeah, from
We
Charter.
met in the bottom of the library building. Okay. He came in with a proposal, and in his proposal, he told us a lot of statistics, a lot of information. The number of users for cable in the town had gone down, was continuing to trend down in between when we sent out the questionnaire and when we finally actually spoke to a representative from Charter, or Spectrum, I should say, Charter Spectrum. A lot of change and consolidation had taken place in the cable industry, and his company was affected by that. Okay. So he came in and he told us that viewership had gone down, people subscribing to the service had gone down. As Mr. Kanka stated, we had some general,
Was this pre-YouTube?
no. As a matter of fact, no.
No? Okay.
What do you mean, YouTube the provider or YouTube the app?
Was this pre?
YouTube the provider?
No, was this pre the town of Hubbardston putting our videos on YouTube to be
Viewed at a later time.
to be viewed by? Because
Okay, no,
that's
we were part of it. We
Okay.
were already on that, I believe. We were already on that, I believe, because at the time, I think there were 3 separate venues that people had to go to in order to get information. I think there was us on YouTube, the police department had their own server, I believe, and their own internet response ability, and then there was another branch of the town government that had their server that they used in order to contact or disseminate information throughout the town. Okay, so I recall there being 3. I was amazed there were 3 at the time. Anyway, so Charter Spectrum, we're waiting for the questionnaire. Charter Spectrum comes in, provides us with all this detailed information, and at that time, he basically said, you know, according to what we're seeing, as far as subscription service is concerned, the number of users we have, it's gradually going down, it's been going down for X number of years, and this is what we're gonna pay. Now, I guess MGL, Mass General Law, requires that cable providers provide us with money.
Yes. Quarterly.
Okay, right, exactly. They provide us with money in order to purchase the video equipment and whatever equipment we need in order to provide public access or public information relative to the town.
And to pay the operations and do whatever. That's what the warrant article every year with the what now is $30,000 is accomplishing.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. I don't know where that fits into my discourse here at the moment, but anyway. So I recall, at that time, then we decided we would wait, because we were still at the beginning of the process in our mind. We were new to it too, as you are, I should say. So we were hoping and believing that we might get multiple bids from other cable service providers throughout the town. We got 0 bids, none whatsoever. It was Charter Spectrum, and that was it. So we waited till the 11th hour, and it was like, we have no other choice. We have to go with Charter Spectrum, because no other internet, cable, or whatever you want to call it, provider had bid or approached us about providing service to the town. Now, at that initial meeting, Mr. Nason, who had been active in previous cable negotiations with the town of Clinton, had said we should hold out in order to get the town fully wired, completely wired, with fiber optic cable.
Yep.
Okay. Charter said no.
As
They
everyone
refused to
still
do it.
would.
They wouldn't do it. Town is too spread out, town is too rural, and we don't have enough demand in order to justify the cost. Okay? We looked, we spoke, we talked, and then I recall him agreeing that what they would do is they would provide service to 3 buildings in town because they were basically clustered together. Slade Building, library, and the school. That was it. They were gonna wire those 3 buildings for fiber optic cable. And then there was some, I recall some vague reference made to do approximately Main Street, the downtown area.
Because
Okay.
those 3 buildings still are not wired for fiber optics.
Okay, I recall that was they said they would do. Okay, I could be
Does
wrong.
that ring a bell to you?
They're not.
I don't think she was involved with meeting with Spectrum at the time.
Now, if I understand
What,
right,
what year was it?
It must have been like sometime between 2010, 2011, and 2015, somewhere in that.
Yeah,
range.
I don't think I came on until 2016.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
if I understand right, there is fiber optic from the studio in Rutland to the center of town.
What's that?
They have fiber optic now from the studio in Rutland to the center of town.
Center of this town?
Yep. When they first put it in.
Fiber.
Coaxial from there.
Yes, we have coax
okay.
cable from
Yeah.
Rutland here, yes.
No, I heard of fiber optic goes from Rutland to the center of town is fiber optic now.
Okay.
When they install
For
it.
cable television or for internet?
Both the cable TV.
Okay.
And then that's when they first put the cable in.
Okay.
1986, I'm guessing, around there.
Okay.
And it's in coaxial from the center of town to everybody else.
So one of our meetings, so the contract is signed, Charter Spectrum gets the contract. That's the way it is. The only alternative, as anybody can conclude, is that we advised the select board. You weren't here at the time.
Nope.
No, not the town administrator. I don't even know if we had a town administrator at that time. Now that I recall, but anyway, it was either going to accept or deny, and then nobody would have cable in the town. Period. There'd be no subscription service, no cable TV, nothing. So our hands were kind of tied as to whether or not we were going to go with this contract. Okay? In one of our subsequent meetings, and you may recall, now you're on board, and I approached you and spoke to you. One of the people in the town who lives up by Comet Pond, on that road, accesses the edge of Comet Pond, approached our committee and was wondering why his road didn't have cable TV service.
And I did get him the information and a quotation on providing that information.
Right, I didn't consider that to be so far out of town.
Well, Evergreen doesn't have it either, and it's because when cable first came to town, they didn't want it.
But that's also not what we're talking about. Like, right now, what I'm leading this towards is that I just want a motion from you guys for me to put together a schedule to renegotiate our contract with Spectrum for cable services and try to get a capital grant that we're likely not going to get because of the number of people cutting the cable from utilizing old-fashioned wired cable to streaming services. That is playing a ginormous part in what is going on. Basically, all I want from you today is I understand that the internet is a problem that we have to deal with, something we're juggling. You're on the MBI discussion group for the working group. We're going to be bringing all of that information forward in another avenue. All I want today is pretty much acknowledgement that, hey, we're in a contract year and the town administrator is going to bring us back more information on that.
There you go, that's it, all set. I have no objection, do you have any objection? There you go.
All right, so I'll schedule a meeting for in short order I'll get legal counsel to give us their advice on the current contract, speak with Spectrum, and bring you all of that information at a meeting scheduled probably in May.
Okay, well, since you brought up that plan that was created by the state of Massachusetts, I have their paperwork here that they gave us that night, digital equity plan, the charter bill, all this nice paperwork, town of Hubbardston, I still have it.
Yeah.
Where do they stand with coming up with the money and the feasibility to improve the quality of the cable and internet service for the town?
As that is not under the purview of the Cable Commission, I ask that you and I just sit down and talk about that. I got an email from them 2 days ago. I can show you what they sent me and when the next meeting is going to be, but that's a completely separate issue.
Yeah, but they asked for our opinion. They asked for our opinion going into the meeting, as what we thought, how active we were, and what the quality of the service was, and what we were all about, the
But
commission.
you were brought into that interest as a standalone citizen because I knew of your interest in fiber optic internet and municipal internet speed.
Okay, that was never explained.
Yeah, you're a general,
Unpaid volunteer.
yeah.
Gotcha. I'm used to that
You're that-
definition. Unpaid volunteer.
Yeah, no, I looked you into that because of our conversation about Westfield and all that area.
Okay.
Because that's more in line with what those people are talking about. But all of that's up in the air too because of the current administration and what is going on.
You talk about the current administration, you mean the governor of Massachusetts,
No,
or you mean
the federal
level?
administration?
Okay.
Because with the changing of the administration, not everything is in the same bucket as it used to be, and we're waiting on that to settle over time. Obviously, it's only been a couple of months that the administration on a federal level has been in control, so we'll see what ends up falling through the cracks in terms of that grant, but no matter what, I do believe that that would be a important opportunity for the country, is to enhance our cable operations on an internet level.
How much money are you expecting from the grant, please? Are you allowed to say?
I don't know. The grant, from the federal money to the state of Massachusetts is big money. But then the way they're doing it at the state level, and I actually, in my master's program, wrote a thesis about how I think this isn't how it should be done. It's up to the state to dole it out. Other states, like I believe Ohio, are allowing each community to just do what's beneficial for them, each county to do what's beneficial for them. It's a dog and pony show in Massachusetts to get federal dollars. So we'll see. And in Massachusetts, to be qualified to get that money to do internet projects, we need to do the feasibility study that we're doing now.
Yeah, but wasn't that all done under the Baker administration? Because the Baker administration developed this program where rural communities who were least served by internet providers were going to get money through the Baker administration, and it stopped right at the Princeton-Hubbardston line.
Yeah, and I'll have to look into that. That's not a relevant topic to the Cable Commission, but you and I can talk about that after if you'd like.
I know you're a busy guy. That's okay, thank you. Anyway, so anything else on your mind that you'd like to bring forward?
The
Yes.
next item on the list is the town meeting, 48 Gardner Road, accessible shared meeting training space proposal. Did that say 48 Gardner Road ADA accessible shared meeting training space proposal? What do you mean by accessible? Do you mean accessible to like everyone in town meeting space, or do you mean accessible ADA accessible
Where do
as
you
well?
read the word accessible?
48 Gardner Road accessible shared meeting space.
On the agenda.
On the agenda.
Right there.
On the agenda, sir.
No, I meant, whatever, it's going to be ADA accessible, but it's also public access.
Okay.
I put that together really fast.
No,
It actually
it's-
wasn't my purview at all to put it together, but I did, so.
Yeah, maybe just get rid of accessible.
I-
Virtually all meetings will be in that conference room.
Depends how this conversation goes.
My understanding is the town wants all the meetings to be publicly videotaped and broadcast.
Yes, correct.
So why would we leave the Slade building?
Because that is supposed to be being turned over to the senior center.
And
that was
it's,
the whole point of us
it's,
moving out.
it's the most inappropriate situation that I've ever heard of, public cable-wise, to have the cable operations running out of a police department. Like, that is not
So
appropriate.
this article for town meeting, would bring, so we broadcast from the Slade building right now. Our cable rack is in the police station. That's how we broadcast, like, to Charter. This would move that broadcast to this building. So we would be broadcasting from 48 Gardner Road rather than the Slade building. And that quote from Charter to move and run the cable was $10,000. So $10,000 of this article is just to move broadcast from Slade to 48 Gardner Road. And then 2,500 of it is for the relocation of the equipment that is at the Slade building. So the cameras are set up, the microphones are installed, all of that stuff needs to be removed and brought over here. And then an additional 32,000 or 33,000 is for, I believe, construction of our room that we're gonna have off of there, construction of the meeting room, and then upgrades to the equipment to make the space,
Like, we might not have to do this. Like, well, you and I talked about that.
yeah. So that is for the build out of the meeting room and our control room, and also upgrades to equipment to allow for hybrid meetings, et cetera. So the total article is 45,000, and that would come out of cable reserves, which is our like savings account, basically money that isn't spent throughout the year gets put in that reserves account.
Do you have any questions before I go off?
No.
I thought we had no money in that account. I remember times when we were talking to you to try to buy you additional cameras or additional equipment that you needed, and we were told that there was no money in that account.
There
Now it
was
seems
no
like there's
money, there was no money in the budget. So there's two accounts. There's one account, which is like the annual budget that we spend from, like for my invoicing or equipment or whatever. And then there's a reserves account. Now, each year, like we have to operate out from the budget account. We can pull from the reserves account, but it requires
It's town
an
meeting
article
vote.
at town meeting and for the town to vote to allow us to pull from reserves.
Okay, my understanding is, my recollection, I apologize for taking so much of this time to you, okay? So if you want to interrupt at any time, please feel free to do so. My understanding, my recollection was that cable, Charter Spectrum either quarterly or bi-yearly pays the cable commission money for the services, for the number of contracts they have here in the town.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, so what happens is quarterly, and that's what's broken down here on your sheet. Quarterly, we get an amount of money. The amount of money in our revenue is approximately $21,569 this year. That revenue is anticipated to go down due to the amount of people cutting the cable and switching from traditional service to that of streaming service. What the town has to do, and it is mandated by Mass General Law in accordance with said law due to transparency reasons and just taxpayer liability, is take that money in, put it in an account, our PEG Access Reserve account. And PEG Access Reserve account grows. Each year at annual town meeting, the good people of the town of Hubbardston allocate a certain amount of money for operations, for the cable clerks couple hours a week, for different small scale purchases, and that number last year was $30,000. So the taxpayers are authorizing, like, okay, we get this revenue that is a small amount of everybody in town that has Spectrum. They have a small amount on their bill that goes to PEG Access, government access cable. And out of that money, which is $21,000 a year, we would like to take 30, so therefore we're upside down on it. And the amount of is only going to grow as it shifts from once being fully funded by that agreement with Charter Spectrum to not. And then the townspeople, as the pocketbook and drawstrings of spending decide how much the town can spend annually. The reason that is capped is to keep control of it. Because if suddenly we went and spent $40,000, something's up. Why did you budget 30, spend 40? That, over time, left this reserve account with approximately, I think it's like $80,000.
I can't see it to the bottom of the page, right? That's cut off.
It's $77,832 of March 2025. It's the bold number.
Where are you referencing, please?
Oh, right here.
Oh, at the top. You're not
Yeah,
at the bottom of the
right here.
page. You're not at the small chart at the bottom
No,
of the page.
no,
okay.
not.
Okay, well, go ahead. May you continue, please.
And the people decide what to do with that money because it's taxpayer revenue. So there is a warrant article every year paying for the operating services of the cable station. And that is the line where, when we talk about having no money in the account, it's having no active money. Even last year, the year before, it was a little higher every year. We could have gone to special town meeting, annual town meeting, and said, Bowling Alley Media needs X, Y, and Z to continue running our cable operations. Last year, we renegotiated with Brittany, so there was an increase to the amount that was necessary. During COVID, there was an increase to the amount necessary because the amount of meetings that were being recorded and broadcast on cable access and on YouTube increased dramatically for the obvious reasons. So that's the checks and balances of this money. But on the back end, there is currently, outside of the parameters of FY25 operating funds, there is $77,832. I am proposing and asking for your support to take some of that money. It doesn't have to be 45, it doesn't have to be whatever. That's the conversation we're having today. To take a room downstairs that I will show you momentarily, gut it, and turn it into a fully functional operating studio / meeting space for community and staff use. It is my hope that once this building project is completed and that becomes either a police station or a fire station, that all of this equipment that we're looking to purchase right now would be reallocated into the second largest conference room in what would then be the final public safety building in Town Hall. And that's it. I don't have experience in buying cameras and microphones,
Yeah.
so I would leave that to Brittany and her expertise.
Absolutely, as we do likewise.
Yeah, that's why the
As
numbers
we do
are
likewise.
nice and round.
But I'm going to go back to one of the things that we did early on when that area in the Slade Building was being renovated. When that area in the Slade Building was being renovated, again, recollection before your time, two things. I recall, you may either, if I'm wrong, please correct me, okay? But I recall that we used to budget with her directly. My interpretation of Mass General Law through the annotated Mass General Law book that you can get through the state of Massachusetts, well, my book said that the Cable Commission was a separate entity into of itself, that we were working with the cable provider for the town directly, and therefore we were not involved with the town budget whatsoever for the equipment and for the costs that we needed.
Because you're technically not.
Okay, technically not, right. So the town approached us to pay for the renovation and the upgrade to all that room.
And I'm approaching you right now to pay for the renovations and upgrades of this room. This history repeats itself. We have a new area. We have gone in a different direction. That is becoming the senior center. It is a more challenging area to utilize as a meeting space due to that reason. We're hoping to, in the next 5 years, get the police department out of there. Centralized business is going to be coming here.
So how long do you see that being the place where all, or the vast majority of town committees meet?
You mean in the same building or here?
Slade Building, please.
If you approved this, 4 months. The table would stay over there. If we can figure it out with Brittany, we would keep the equipment over there to give people more opportunity. No one should be meeting in the dingy library basement.
It was private. You gotta say that, it was very private. It did have its upside, and it was cool in the dead of winter. You would leave heat and humidity behind when you were there. It had its upsides.
But, and it's my hope to have additional meeting rooms, not less.
So what portion of our budget, pardon me, let me rephrase that, I apologize. What portion of your budget is going into the renovation downstairs? Is this gonna be a 50-50 proposition?
No.
So you want us to underwrite the
it's a-
entire cost
it's a-
of renovating remodeling,
It's a cable
upgrading
op.
that room.
That is how the proposal is being brought to you right now, Al. And that's why I brought it to you guys. You could say no. Like, there's no harm, no foul there. And I applied for several grants. I actually just yesterday found out that I had applied for a $100,000 grant. They gutted this whole part of it out of the grant and funded the e-permitting part. So I'm trying. But no, there is not freestanding monies on a town operations side to fund renovations for that room at this time. Should the Cable Commission not be interested in going in this direction, then I'll keep providing proposals. That's what I do. Like, I'm gonna get no's every once in a while anyway, because for every good idea, there's bad ideas to come, and I just want to work with the town to make sure that the town is utilizing their resources to the best possibility for the townspeople. And the Slade Room is, I'm sorry, the Slade Room's a one-trick pony. If we want to have a public hearing there, it's not a public hearing, it's a big old table, and you meet around it. If you want to have a training, let's say the police wanted to do a RAD class there, it's a big old table. And so I'm hoping to provide in the new room something similar to this, where
But the tables
that-
are on wheels, we can move them, we can reset the room to fit whatever event we're holding. And we're gonna do yoga there next week, and we're gonna be doing yoga out on the deck because there's a big old table in that room that literally cannot move. It's a heavy table.
It is,
It is a heavy table.
absolutely.
Came from the prison, right?
Yeah,
Pardon?
it matches those.
Yeah, it came from the prison system. It was bought through MassCore.
I thought Monty Tech built it.
No, it was MassCore.
And anything, if this was approved and then the good townspeople approved it, it would still, Brittany and I were talking about setting it up so that it could be moved when this project moves forward. Anything purchased now, we would hope to have for 10 plus years.
So if we were to table your request through the summer, would that give you time to see about getting more grant money?
If you
Before we move forward?
table my request through the summer, we likely wouldn't do it. Like, I could apply for every grant under the sun, and I still will. Like, if this request is not tabled and this moves forward, there is nothing stopping my office from applying for grants. That grant I was just talking about was actually approved to pay for at a special town meeting, $20,000 for municipal modernization and e-permitting. Now I get to go back to the select board on Monday night and say, hey, at town meeting, we need to have a warrant article repurposing this $20,000 because it was unnecessary. But we needed to put that $20,000 up to do the project. And it's a similar situation here. We don't put the money up, we don't put the article up, we're not doing it right now, which is A-okay. We'll keep meeting at the Slade Room, that'll be fine. But this is an opportunity that we have. Most of our operations are here at this time. It's a proposal. Brittany, do you want to speak to the benefits for your operation?
I think the benefit is getting out of the police station. We've had several instances where they've gotten locked out because they went on a call and they couldn't get in time to
Yeah.
record the meetings.
So it's not uncommon that either the board or committee meeting has to delay starting their meeting because we can't get into our equipment to start the recording, or we simply miss the meeting and we aren't able to record it because we can't get to our equipment. So
Yeah,
that's like,
but now we run into the conundrum, and this is maybe for him and me, and for future representatives, should there ever be any on this particular board, okay? As you noted, subscriptions within the town for cable services are going down. So I'm gonna anticipate that the revenue that we get for this commission to use for her equipment, likewise, is gonna be going down.
What
And-
equipment is she going to need?
Well, I think she's got, what, 4 or 5 cameras? I think we've
We have
already
2.
placed them once, or,
we have 2 cameras. That's actually, that camera doesn't belong to you.
Another
That's,
fi-
that doesn't belong to us, okay?
Another 5 years, you're gonna need to
You're
upgrade
gonna need to
that.
upgrade the equipment, right?
yeah, yes.
If
Equipment
not-
will
if
need
not
to be
sooner.
upgraded over time, just like the equipment in Slade, that equipment needs to be upgraded over time. Yeah.
Right, so will whoever's sitting on this commission have the money that she's gonna need, or whoever does our cable service, to buy the equipment? We don't know.
So the model as it stands right now, yes, money will run out. However, there are things in the works for alternative revenue services. There's a
Legislation
bill.
pending.
There's a bill that's been at the state level for a while that would take a percentage of revenue from streaming services, which is how people can largely consume media now. So, it's in the same vein of the Cable Act, just an updated version taxing where people are watching rather than cable television, they're watching streaming. So that's a bill that I anticipate at some point will pass, and then the revenue stream will increase actually.
Hugely.
Also, there's been a trend in other towns where when the cable revenue is falling, then the town starts supplementing the cable budget to make sure that they can continue operations. So it's
that's
as
not
this
enough.
model is right now. Yes, it looks really bad, but that doesn't mean that like we can't evolve.
You were saying, I apologize, I couldn't hear
And
you.
that's not a no. It's not a no, especially as hybrid meetings evolve and hybrid opportunities evolve. Like, that's the step we're trying to take here, to increase the public's ability to participate in their government in a hybrid fashion. Right now, we can't effectively run a hybrid meeting because we're videotaping a TV that's running a computer. In this new setup, we would be able to run hybrid meetings effectively from the meeting space to the internet.
Oh, yeah, we agree.
And when you talk about these upgrades down the line, this is one of those upgrades. Like, I'm not looking for, this is a complete cable operation. Like, the town is putting up the room. Like, that's a space that, you like that?
I like that. I like the way you work that in. We're doing our share. Don't think that this is all on your shoulders.
No, but the town is being a partner. We're putting up the room, and it would, yeah, it's a proposal. Al.
You gave us the room at the Slade Building. We pay for the paint, the rugs, and everything else to remodel it because it was explained to us that the place was basically an echo chamber, and meetings would be horrendous should they be videotaped and broadcast. People wouldn't be able to hear them clearly
And here we are
because of the
10 years later,
reverberation.
meetings are horrendous, and they can't hear us because of the reverberation. So
our money was wasted?
no, it was
Of course, it wasn't wasted. We've recorded how many meetings?
Yeah.
Like,
tens of thousands.
Okay.
Oh, no. I think that the proposal needs to be thought about, but I also think they should also see the room as well after this to see what we're thinking.
Yeah,
It's hard to envision.
He mentioned that. He mentioned that he intended to walk us down there and say, this is where it's going to be. So I look forward to that myself. I'm sure Mr. Kangas does also. Over the years, one of the big goals of every town administrator we've interacted with has been regionalization of various responsibilities throughout the town. Has there been, on your part as a town administrator, any discussion with other town administrators in the area to forego waiting for grants, to forego the federal government, et cetera, or how much money is dispersed through the state of Massachusetts, and regionalize high-speed internet access throughout four or five towns in the area?
Yes, there has.
How do we stand with that? Is there any idea of what that would cost us
This
to do?
isn't the high-speed internet committee. This is the cable commission.
Okay.
Like, you and I can talk about high-speed internet. You keep going back to that. What I'm proposing right now is a meeting space to have room to have public access meetings out of. Select board, library committee, the planning board, the cable commission. This is not about internet speed. The internet speed options that I am pursuing right now with Spectrum is a separate conversation. The select board authorized me to work with Spectrum on fiber opportunities for this building at their last meeting. That is a completely separate conversation. This is about cable and working with Brittany to make sure that we can bring the best and most accessible opportunities to the people of Hubbardston, whether that be on cable or via their computer or phone.
But the bill is just going to show cable. It's just going to show internet access. The bill I get for streaming is just going to show internet access. It's not going to show the cost of the Roku box, in which service providers I've contracted with through the Roku company or Roku business.
But
Roku
the charge
box.
of the committee does state that you are a cable advisory committee. Like, Al, I'm not saying I don't want to talk to you about internet. It's just not pertinent to this meeting.
Well, how are they going to be able to define whether somebody's using streaming or somebody's just using the internet access per their bill?
Because the number of the fee is based off of your traditional cable payment, not your internet. It's split on your bill. Like, look at the back of your bill. It says Al's TV, Al's internet, Al's box that we rent to him. Fee. And that fee, among the other fees, are based upon the other services that you choose as a person using a provider.
Thank you. So you want, should we go down and see what that room looks like and how we can assist you if we decide to go further?
Sure. If you want to call a recess, we can come back
Call a
after
recess,
that.
we can go and take a look at that, please.
Order.
Calling the meeting back to order. Time is approximately 11:15 a.m. Thank you for that tour. I've never been there. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to walk through what they envision seeing taking place in the town of you.
Well, she's got great potential, and
Absolutely.
we'll trust their judgment and the builders to make the space adequate for our needs and their needs and community's needs.
Going forward, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. One last question, and I guess, do you want our opinion right now, or do you want our opinion at a future date?
I would, if you were in a position to give an endorsement of the warrant article with how often you guys meet, I would like your opinion today if you're willing to give it. If you want more time, I ask that you schedule a meeting between now and a couple weeks from now, but also note that the warrant article submission period is closed and the select board will be closing the warrant at their meeting on April 7th.
Okay.
I think go ahead with it.
You gotta make a motion. You have to word it.
Okay. Would you like me to word a
Would you
motion?
please?
Oh, of course. I'm so good at this now.
Excellent. Put your KSAs to work.
So,
Endorsed.
endorse.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the motion to endorse the warrant article for the 2025 annual town meeting, so presented by the town administrator. And you say
Make
so
a
moved?
motion.
So moved? Okay. Now I gotta remember what I said.
So we're going to the article as written, and there's a handout that you gave earlier today.
And Al, if I'm being completely honest, and Brittany can stop me here, it's probably overinflated by $5,000. Like if you wanted to
This
say,
is, yeah, this is definitely a very cautious estimate. Anything that does not get spent will go back into our reserves. So.
but I could live if that was 40. Like I think we'd be more than.
For some reason, 30 sticks out in my mind. But you want 40.
It's up to you.
It's up to you. What do you think you're gonna need? If you
Well,
get,
there
there's only two
is-
people here.
There
If you get the
is-
vote.
There is enough to cover this for $45,000 in reserves. And it makes sense to allocate more money than is necessary in case we run into something that we don't anticipate. Anything we do not spend, we get that money back. It goes straight back into our reserves
Yeah.
account. So it's not like saying 40,000 or 45,000 necessarily that money's going away and never coming back. It's just to make sure that we have enough for the project.
Because this would be capital. In operations, we spend all of our money because we budget accordingly. But if you were to ever one year put $50,000 in the operations account, if that got to the end of the year, it would roll over into free cash. We spend our money. This is not that situation. This money, anything would be a capital for the cable commission.
In 6 months, it'll be 50,000.
Exactly. There you go. Now there's Joe, honest citizen.
But we won't have $50,000 to spend on it. So therefore, we wouldn't be able to do that legally.
All right. So you put the motion forward? Is the motion on the table?
Motion is on the table.
Please. Your vote?
Yeah,
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Two of us.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Now, if the cable commission were so interested in an update on what MBI is doing and what the town could potentially look into for internet options, I do not believe it is so far from your scope that it is unnecessary that is not appropriate for you to ask for a public meeting on that stuff. I just don't have it here with me today readily available to have that conversation. Like if you wanted to move that in the future, the Cable Commission and the public as invited holds a meeting on internet opportunities and options in Hubbardston. I can't from my seat right now tell you what we would accomplish there, but it's something I'd be willing to do with you.
Do you have the time?
Yeah.
Okay. I know your time is probably stretched.
Lately.
Yeah. Would we be having it here, or would we be having it over at the Slade Building then? Because if you anticipated that you would have citizens showing up wanting to at
Depending
least
what
have
the
a Q&A.
turnaround was, it would be at the Slade Building. If it ended up that it took until August and town meeting went in the direction of building this new room, we could probably have it in the new room. But I would have to talk to MBI and see what their deal is, because it can very quickly turn into just a concern session.
When I asked them, when I met with them that evening, I asked them what they anticipated the turnaround would be, okay, for some type of improvement or some type of resolution or some type of recommendation, anything.
It's coming soon.
Okay.
Because Patricia and I got an email meeting request from them the other day, but there's been some personnel deals going on this week. I've been pretty tied up.
Okay, I asked them if we, meaning the town or the Cable Commission, would be getting some information within the next recent 6 months, and they chortled. And they chuckled and said, yeah, that's a probably not something that's reasonable to expect. So,
Something's coming down the line. The fact that they reached out means their report's getting ready, and I will share that information with you. It's publicly available once released in public information.
okay. Great.
And I've already had I'm going to be going to the kickoff of the fiber business that is coming to Gardner in a hope to have a conversation with them about, hey, what are the feasibilities of
Extending it.
extending? It's called Gateway Fiber. They're coming into Gardner. They're doing a ribbon cutting like in the next month.
Shouldn't have told me
Guidance
that.
going out fiber or?
I don't have the information. I know I got a mailer at my house saying within the next year you will have fiber opportunities.
Shouldn't have told me that. Shouldn't have told me that, because now I'm wondering, and I put this out respectfully, okay? You got your money for your room. But, as I said to you maybe a few years ago now, when towns that surround University of Massachusetts College, when those small towns rewired everything for high-speed internet access. So residents in the town, which were primarily, the way it was spoken to me by one of their select people, was graduate students trying to access the computer system at the Graduate Research Center.
Yes,
And because they only had dial-up service at the time,
correct.
they could never get in. They were always getting spit out. During COVID, when my son came from Rochester Institute of Technology, and he was trying to access the computer system in New York, he got spit out. So we had to scramble in order for him to complete his educational studies. Okay, I think everybody here in this room, everybody here in this room would agree that because having high-speed internet access is no longer just something we would like.
It's a right. It's a need.
Something we need, not so much for my generation, your generation, but for children who, for whatever reason, got to access their school library, got to access their schoolwork, etc. Okay? As town administrator, respected town administrator, by the way,
Thank you, sir.
wouldn't the money we allocated have been better spent for that company that you're going to meet with in Gardner? That's
the
right,
cable-
you said it.
you're the cable
You
commission,
said it.
Al.
You said it.
Al, you're the cable commission.
Yeah, but if you said
Your charge
I understand
is
that. But if
for-
you said we'll take your money and we're going to use that to wire X portion of the town, or the whole town for that matter,
We can't use,
Any opportunities like that are
you're going to take care of it.
we're gonna
You're
look
going to
into.
take care of it from
And-
your
and-
budget.
And that's a town priority. That's not a cable commission priority. Having public access meetings and being able to increase our hybrid opportunity, being able to increase Brittany and her staff's experience while working here, being able to provide a service is the cable commission's responsibility. That is what we would look to do with that capital monies that the cable committee has now endorsed if it passed town meeting. It's a whole nother barrel of monkeys.
Well, can we, is it a good idea if we join you in that meeting in Gardner?
It's a public, there's gonna be big scissors and a ribbon, like it's a whole thing. I'll send you the info on it.
Okay.
And it's not a meeting, I've reached out to them and didn't get a response back yet. I'm hoping to catch somebody there just out of the blue, because they didn't respond to the email correspondence I sent to them. That's not a promise, it was a mention, it was a, hey, we're gonna try. Like if any sort of opportunities were coming to a neighboring community, I would want to go and say, hey, listen, I'm the town administrator in Hubbardston. We're also in need of X opportunity. Would you be interested in talking about X opportunity? And then it's either yes or no, or they say, hey, we're kind of tied up right now, but this company does that. I'm constantly exploring different ways to.
So is this a ribbon cutting ceremony that it's done and operating?
No.
Or they're gonna do
This
it?
is I'll forward you what I got from the chamber.
Very good. Should we adjourn the meeting?
No, we got new business.
New business. You have new business?
Yeah, the new broadcast for you.
Okay, thank you.
Documentary film, a year in the making.
Those SD cards are yours.
The old equipment that we replaced at one of our last meetings, how did that sale go?
Sorry?
Didn't we talk about replacing old equipment one of our last meetings? When we were going to put the old cameras up for sale?
We bought a server.
We gave the cameras to Gary. We purchased 2 new cameras, and Gary has the old ones.
One caught fire,
Okay,
some failed wires, but the other one I got new batteries for and it's working great.
okay.
In fact, I'm very impressed with the quality compared to my $3,500 camera.
Is this meeting already done?
It hasn't been adjourned.
Please adjourn this meeting.
Well, this is new
Sure.
business.
I think, but
Wait, she
Shouldn't
told
have done that.
giving away.
Public.
Well, it wasn't given, no, it
property.
wasn't given, it's on like permanent loan, and it's
Oh, okay.
to, produce things that we're putting on the cable
All
channel.
right, that's much cleaner. All right.
That's
It was
not-
not given. It still belongs to the cable committee, but
Last time we were
They're
supposed
in
to
Gary's
meet,
care.
last time we were supposed to meet, you were gonna vote on getting new software, editing software,
Yeah,
and we never did get that meeting in.
editing software, we don't
You wanted,
have an active editing computer right now.
you wanted some kind of software to produce video.
I did? No.
yeah, that's what he mentions,
Can
and
we
he's
afford
right.
an editing
I remember
computer-
that.
Computer in that, honey?
I remember that
We will
because
see.
you had talked about how everything had to be spliced and put together and this, that, and the other thing. And
I had mentioned that we should replace the computer. The old computer can't edit anymore. It was purchased back in like 2016. I had mentioned that we should purchase another computer, but that didn't happen.
But that would be a purchase that could come through your budget.
That's what we were just whispering about.
Yeah, because
we're
you're gonna
not-
do everybody all at once. That was the new theory, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because when I started involvement with town government, it was piece by piece by piece.
Yeah, no, it's not a no. Like, that's
Okay,
100%
so
not a
that's,
no.
that hasn't happened yet. She got a new computer.
No.
No, I did not. No computer was purchased. We didn't have the money in
Brittany's
the budget.
computer technically isn't part of the town's network of computers that are part of our replacement schedule, but I am not opposed to talking to her about that and looking at the IT budget or looking at how a new editing computer could fit into the parameters of this budget should it be passed at town meeting. That's what we were just talking about. If we're gonna be doing this, I wanna do this right out.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's, and if
He brought it up, he's right. I completely forgot about that. Thank you for bringing it up. I completely
They didn't
forgot
adjourn
about
yet.
that conversation.
They said they adjourned.
Yeah, we
They did?
adjourned.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear a vote.
all in
Well,
favor
then
to
we-
adjourn?
Aye.